Welcome back, everybody, to the Laugh Cry Club. I'm Joy.
I'm Rebecca.
We are here for you as licensed therapists in your ears. We have been podcasting for, I don't know, it's almost 2 years now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It'll be 2 years in June.
I think it is. Yeah,
that
it's close.
Is wild. This is like episode 90, and we are so happy that we're still here helping you with mental health. This world is really going through a lot right now. So if we can be a little bit of a relief in your ears every week, that's what we're here for. We are two licensed mental health therapists. We have over 20 years of experience. We are also mental health coaches, and we just want to share the knowledge that we've gained over the years of what's helpful, what is science-backed, you know, what we all go through and normalize the human experience. So today we thought we would talk about some spring cleaning. I don't know about you. Do you get into like a spring cleaning mode? Not so much we'll talk about two things. We'll talk about like your spring cleaning personality of just like, do you do spring cleaning physically?
Okay.
But we're going to spring clean our minds a little bit. How's that sound?
I love it. I actually need this. It's just a great time for me to do this.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So just on a lighter note, are you the spring clean type of person where you start to like, I don't know, dust things a little bit more, or like, I don't know, open the windows and do like the Cinderella thing where that's what I imagine when I think of spring cleaning. It's like Cinderella and all the animals, you know, sweeping the floors.
I wish I had all the animals. Sign me up for that. I don't do the spring cleaning. Well, okay, not of my house. I do of my outdoor space, prepping the gardens, getting rid of all the dead stuff, prepping that. So I do that type of spring cleaning.
Yeah.
Not so much in my house. I probably should.
I'm the same way but I'm more of a clean person as I go. So I'm constantly cleaning my house. I've always been that way. Are you a clean person, like a moderately clean person? Okay. It's like, and my personality has...
A moderately clean person.
Well, you know, there's like a range. There's like your extreme...
What's the range?
Oh, there's like...
Tell me the range.
Well, there's extremely clean where you are dusting. And I mean, my best friend's mom growing up was meticulously clean. Her house looked like a museum clean. There was not a speck of dust anywhere. She cleaned the house top to bottom every Friday. But she was also a professional house cleaner. So their house, so growing up, we were always like, oh, Rose's house is like, you can't touch anything in there. I mean, but it was also just beautiful. So there's like that level of clean. And then as kids, we always joked because if we had like, you know, as a kid, you're like rolling around in the grass. And like when we would come in and we had like, maybe we would like brush each other off. But if we came in the house with like a couple blades of grass on our back, she would be like, you kids are covered in grass. And so that was like the big joke is like we were covered in grass if we had like 2 blades of grass on us. So that's like that level of clean. Wow. And it's also, she has since passed away, like God rest her soul, but like that to me is also very endearing because it's like that was just her personality. But then you have like moderately clean where you're just kind of tidy, like you tidy things up. You maybe have like piles of papers everywhere, you know, some mess doesn't really bother you. You can deal with like dirty floors and dirty windows for a while and whatever. And then there's kind of like really messy. I mean, we could go into the level of like filth of, you know.
I feel like I'm in the middle somewhere. I mean, like I did notice I need to clean my windows on the outside. It's just, you know, that's probably kind of a spring cleaning thing too. Like get the because all the pollen's been coming down and just get that off. But
it's so interesting of like, even if you think developmentally, think back to like when you were a kid. Okay. So I understand that developmentally for me, for whatever reason, and I truly think there's like part of nature versus nurture here. I don't have any science in front of me around this, but I would imagine that it is it because what happened to me as a kid, I was always very neat and tidy just as a kid. My personality was, I liked everything organized in my room. I kept my room very tidy. And I think it was part personality, but also part that I valued things very much that we didn't have compared to the people, the friends that I grew up with, the social circle that I grew up with. My perception was that most kids, and this is probably not entirely true, but as a kid, you just have different perceptions. My perception was that we didn't have as much money as other people, so I kept anything that I had very nice because I wanted to have the same, like, I don't know, I just wanted to have almost like be in the same like echelon as them, you know what I mean? And so I wanted to be like, I have nice things too. So I kept everything very nice and very tidy. And then when I would go to friends' houses, and if their house was filthy, I would be like, I never want my house to be like that. So I internalized that to be like, I never want my house to be that dirty. So I would always help my mom clean. I like to pick up outside in the yard, and I would always roll the hoses up very nicely. That was very much important. That was very important to me.
Buttoned up kid.
It's very interesting. But my brother was the other way. He could not have cared less. He was filthy. His room was always a mess. He was always just throwing clothes everywhere, So
were your parents okay with his filthy room?
Yeah, they didn't really
were they
care.
on him all the time?
They didn't really care. They would be like, Jay, you got to pick up your room. They weren't my parents just in general were not strict, but not in a we don't care way. They were just there and supportive. They were more supportive than they were strict, which is fine with me because we were really good kids. But my brother was messy, and they would just kind of be like, hey, you got to clean up your room. So they'd get on him a little bit, but not you're grounded. We were never grounded. Grounding was never a thing in my house. So
anyway. Nice. Yeah, I feel for me, in my childhood environment, that our house was always tidy and clean, and I just couldn't leave piles of things around. I just know if we left things around, it would get placed on our stairway and told it needs to go upstairs, because me and my sister had upstairs rooms. And if we didn't get it in a certain time, it was gone.
See, you told me
forever.
This, and it kind of breaks my heart that they just
I think that's why I have so much anxiety. Yeah, it was gone. It's so I think probably I took that and just, I feel I'm tidy, but yeah, I have some piles of papers. I'm working on some miniature stuff right now at my kitchen table. And so I can't just put those things up because they're in the process. So they're kind of there. And, some people that might annoy them, they came over and they saw this craft project on your kitchen table. But for me, it's okay because I'm going to get back to it.
Right. It's a work in progress.
But,
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I think, spring cleaning it's something that I think comes up because spring means new beginnings. All my plants are coming back up right now.
Yeah. The days are longer. You just got to have that and it's interesting because this narrative has been around for so long of spring cleaning. And I would love to actually Google the where this started.
I would imagine it comes
from.
What
is the origin story
of spring cleaning? Yeah. Well, yeah. What is it?
I'm going to look.
I'm assuming though it has something to do with back in the day, you probably had dirt floors and stuff. And in the winter, you were all closed up and you didn't move a lot.
Okay,
because you need to conserve your energy. You just were bundled up. And then it's and you weren't letting any air in your place, right? Because it was too cold. Yep. You had maybe a stove. And then it was we can open and air this out from all of us living in a 10 by 10 space.
Yeah. Okay. I'm loving this. You're exactly right. And
am I?
Yeah. Well, it's very similar to what you're saying is
okay.
Where it has a lot of history, and spring cleaning, I do too, originated from a combination of ancient cultural religious traditions and practical necessities, including Iranian New Year practices, the Jewish tradition of Passover, and the need to clear away winter soot. It traditionally involves a deep, thorough home cleansing during March or April to prepare for a new season of growth and to remove accumulated dirt, soot, and dust. So the Jewish tradition of Passover, observant Jews thoroughly clean their homes to remove any traces of leavened bread to commemorate the hasty flight of Israelites from Egypt. The Iranian New Year, Chinese New Year, Christian traditions. So Christians would clean their homes to prepare for Easter, symbolizing a fresh start, while the Greek Orthodox Church practices Clean Monday to start Lent. So it's very much originating from it's a ritual. Yeah. As I've talked about before, one of my favorite books is The Power of Ritual by Casper ter Kuile. He talks about the power of ritual in our lives and that we really need to bring that back because it really grounds us, these rituals, whether it be related to a religion or just related to something that kind of feels good for you to do every year and very symbolic and why that's important to us as humans. So I love that spring cleaning is rooted in that because of course it is. Yeah. Where it's I grew up Catholic, so Easter's a big deal for us. And maybe I'm going to do some symbolic spring cleaning just, to feel that. And if you think about traditions and you think about history, it connects us all. And we talked last week about loneliness. And I think that this is something that we want to just continue to, whether, like I said, you don't have to be super religious to do it, but just to feel connected to a community and just to feel connected to some type of tradition, to history. I'm loving this. Okay. So rebirth and renewal and the psychological benefits. So let's talk about how this can maybe reduce some stress and mind clutter.
Yeah, I think it's so important because our homes are very important to us, and it's a place of safety. And so we have a tendency to clean these as part of this ritual, but we sometimes are not mindful of like cleaning, like how do we reset our mind too?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you're talking about. And how do we get our mind in a place ready for new growth or new opportunities and clear out maybe things that are not working for us as much as maybe they have in the past. So I'm just curious, how do you, when you're feeling your mind cluttered, like how do you declutter it?
What are the symptoms really that I'm trying to think? Because first of all, I want to think about how do I know when I'm cluttered?
Good point. Yeah. That's a great point. Let's talk about how we know when our mind is cluttered.
For me personally, I'm irritable. Irritability is a big signal for me because I'm typically just not an irritable person. But if I'm feeling very short, it comes out typically with people that you're closest to. So think about a partner, a roommate, a family member, someone that you're really, really close to, who have a strong bond, that you feel vulnerable enough to just let all of your emotions out. That typically comes out with my partner, my husband. And so I will be short with him, or I'll just be kind of like moody. So that's when I know that I'm like, okay, that's my signal to do a declutter or give myself some space. What about you?
This is so interesting because I've actually been going through this, I feel like, for the last 2 months. Okay. So it's really relevant to me, this conversation. So I know my mind is cluttered when I feel just unsettled overall. My anxiety, I experience anxiety already, but my anxiety increases and it becomes like, most of the time I go through life and it's fine. In this period of time when I'm cluttered, it's like an everyday, like, why are you holding your breath while you're doing whatever? Like recognizing, I'm holding my breath. Like, that's crazy. You have to breathe. Feeling that I have too many things going on. I've said yes to too much. And then because then I spiral into maybe a little bit of depression feeling and isolation and that loneliness that you're talking about, like how the rock is on top of you and how am I going to get out of this type of situation? It just feels really heavy. That's how I know when my mind is cluttered. And then I have to start taking steps to declutter it.
So kind of the listeners that are maybe considering this is like, what is something that you're maybe avoiding? And if you're not someone who really understands the patterns that you recognize, or maybe you've never recognized patterns of what it looks like when you're needing to declutter your mind or recognize something that's not serving you, just think about that. Like what are the warning signs? How do I know? That's really step one of recognizing the symptoms of when you're in this state. So if you're avoiding something or thoughts you've been carrying, anxieties that you've been carrying, that's a good way to just stop and ponder. And then also think about, okay, how does this show up for me? It's different for everyone. For me, like I said, it's irritability. For you, you're just like, I'm really feeling more anxious and I'm not really always that way. Some people might start to isolate. There's just a ton of different ways that it shows up for people.
I want to point out, too, that I think a part of avoiding that sometimes we don't recognize is that we have decision paralysis.
Yeah.
And I have really been experiencing that. Like, I know the things, like I can count all the things that I have going on in my mind and life, but I feel like I can't make a decision. And then the anxiety kicks in. It's like, don't make the wrong decision. But then it's like, then you go back to like the self-talk. There's no wrong or right decision. It's a decision. And then, like all the self-talk, you have to talk yourself through it. But it's so hard when it feels really heavy and you have so much clutter to make a decision. And that's where the avoidance comes in, because it's like, I'm just not going to make it. I'm not going to do the thing. I'm not going to make the choice here.
Yeah, that analysis paralysis can really get you. I always think like once you make a decision, indecision feels worse than actually making the quote unquote wrong decision.
But don't you feel indecision comes from not feeling like you can make the right, like you're not even sure?
It's the thing is, the way that I look at decisions is I'm like, I've said it before, it's the quote that I love from one of like a author that I have really enjoyed is like, make a decision and then make it right, where you make the decision and then you learn the decisions give you information. So if you are indecisive about something, you're not going to you're just going to stay stagnant because the indecision is just like, I can't jump to the next lily pad because I just don't know which one is the right one. Well, guess what? Typically there is no wrong decision. There's just a decision that will then give you the information you need to get you on to the next part of life. And if it's quote unquote the wrong decision, guess what? You're going to end up on the same path anyway. It may have just taken a different path to get there, a different detour.
Mm-hmm. I think, though, not to get us way off topic here, but that's also where like a trauma response comes into play, because it's like, you're right. It's a lily pad. I love this analogy because I want to be a frog on a lily pad. That sounds relaxing. And then you're on, it's just a lily pad. Just jump on it. But that is right. But then when people have this past trauma or these trauma responses, it feels like it's not just a lily pad because I have to try to predict anything that might go poorly with being on that lily pad. Like maybe there's a snake on that lily pad. And so like then that trauma is helping you or trying to get you to like keep you safe, and it prevents you then from getting even on the lily pad.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's really hard because I think that we are such a society that feels like we always have to make the right decision, but also we're avoiding pain and we're avoiding nobody wants to be wrong, and nobody wants to be like, I'm screwing myself by making the wrong decisions. We have to trust ourselves that we can handle whatever comes our way. I'm saying this as someone who struggles with it too, so it's not like I don't have this mastered, but what I'm saying is like we just have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, which I will continue to say is like the whole meaning of life is like
it is. The whole meaning of life is just like dealing with being uncomfortable.
Tolerating discomfort. I will say it till I am blue in the face. The whole point of life is to continue to be comfortable with uncomfortable. I mean, it's also like, loving and, all those good things. But I'm just saying, like in therapy, when people are talking, I'm like, look, I'm just here to help you become more comfortable with really uncomfortable feelings. And if we can accept that, I think we're going to be a lot happier.
Yeah. And I say to people too, like before you can become comfortable, you have to get even more uncomfortable. Like sometimes it's really hard coming into therapy because you're like, that's going to be uncomfortable, but you got to be uncomfortable to get comfortable.
Right. And it's not like my mindfulness class always says, it's like, and the point is not to just be happy. This whole point of doing this isn't to get to happiness. It's just to dive into the human experience. Okay. So as far as continuing on our like mindful decluttering, what are some practical things that we can do, tips that we can give? I really love bringing awareness as step one. So like I said earlier, of when do you know that you're kind of hitting a warning point? What are the warning signs in your body? How does it feel? A lot of times I will ask clients, hey, is your partner or is your friend or is someone close to you noticing a difference in you? People who are close to you will give you feedback, or you can ask them for feedback if they're not someone who's going to like tell it to your face, but like, hey, can you please give me feedback of like how you think I'm doing? Because they have the closest view of actually what's going on with you. So while a client can tell me they're doing A, B, and C, I'll be like, has your partner noticed a difference in you lately? And they'll be like, yeah, actually, they've said that I've been really short with them lately. Like those are things that you can just take stock of. And it's not to feel bad about yourself, but it's really good feedback because we shouldn't be just walking around ignoring these things, thinking we have to deal with it on our own. It's really helpful to get it out there. Once we get it out there, it kind of holds less power over us.
Yeah. Once we name it, it does have less power over us.
Yeah.
I think the next important step is letting it go, like releasing it. Like once you're aware and you've identified what's happening to you, like for myself, I'm aware of how I've been feeling. And then I started thinking about all the things I've been saying yes to. And I'm like, whoa, this is too much. And so part of the release is I'm looking at what what can I let go or and delegate to maybe other people? And so that might be, just you can journal about these things, write them down. Like sometimes like it's helpful for me to make lists or even write down the emotions that you're needing to let go. But we have to we identify it, and then we have to find some way to release it because we can't keep holding it. It's like a tea kettle. The steam happens, right? It has to blow off at some point. And that's essentially what you are. Be the tea kettle and then release some of that pressure.
I mean, every single person, I'm guessing, listening can relate to a time when you've quote unquote blew up. Like your emotions just blew up. That is such a universal experience where to me, it's like you can't really argue with the fact that you have to process emotions because if you don't, it manifests in your body so strongly where people are like, I've just been trying to hold it together or I've just been taking on too much and you don't have that time to release the steam. That's why the whole phrase blowing off steam exists.
Right. Yeah.
Like we literally have to do that. And so if we think that we are exempt, I used to be one of those people that's like, I can handle it all. Thank you. Hustle culture. You can't outrun that. I don't care how much you think you can handle. You cannot outrun it, or it will manifest in an illness. Maybe you'll come down with a flu or a really bad cold, or you'll manifest some type of like autoimmune disease, or like God forbid you get you really ill. But I am always telling people like your body, if you don't slow down and if you don't let things go and do some type of release, cathartic release, even if it's deep breathing, it doesn't have to be like a 10-day vacation. If you don't address it and at least give yourself that space, your body will do it for you. Your body will eventually be like, because God bless our bodies, they will put up with so much. They will absorb so much. Our bodies are amazing, amazing things. I used to work with a naturopathic doctor when I was going through an autoimmune disease myself. And she's like, your body is amazing. It will process whatever you put in it. Like it's not gonna, when you open your mouth, and she always uses the phrase of like, you could eat like a piece of like, I don't know, paper or trash and your body will try to process it. You know what I mean? So it's like, your body's not going to, if you try to put something in your mouth, it's not going to be like, we can't do that. It's like, we're going to try to process this. So her point was like, it's never going to argue with you, but at some point, if you continue to abuse it, like it's just going to stop working. It's just going to shut down.
Right.
Whether it be if people use drugs or alcohol, like eventually your body's going to be like, oh, we're really trying to your body fights so hard to just like keep you alive every day, So like the same with processing emotions is eventually it will catch up to you. Yeah. And as we get older, it takes less time. Think about all the things we did as kids or like as young people.
Yeah.
Where we'd like, I could stay up all night partying and then go to work the next day and be like, I'm fine,
No, it hurts more. Like on, mental level, physical level. And it's just harder because we don't have like all those energy resources that we did. I think one of the biggest things is chronic stress. Like that's your body, like taking it, like you're talking about processing all these things. Can be chronic stress. And then it can lead to like chronic illnesses for people. And that's when I think people start to like, we kind of are mindless a lot of times. And then it's when the body says, oh, guess what? You're going to be sick now, or you are gain a lot of weight or lose a lot of weight drastic, or your body temp, your hormones are off. It's like, I think that's when we finally are like, whoa, okay, something's happening here. I have to do something.
Right. And not everyone is used to doing this. It's not,
no.
I always have to remind myself of that being a therapist. We talk about this all the time. It's very normalized, but I understand people may have been raised where it's like, you don't talk about emotions. You brush it under the rug, especially with Gen X. But I want to just say, if you can at least normalize it with yourself, that just naming emotions out loud, just saying that I'm having a really hard day to your partner or to your friend or to someone that's close to you is a really, really big step because it may feel really uncomfortable, but if you can just start to kind of grease the wheels of like processing it this way, I think the releasing, the decluttering, just see how that feels.
Yeah.
You'll notice a difference.
Totally. And so then after we declutter, what do you do in your home when you're like cleaning out the closet? Well, then we reorganize.
Yeah.
Or we start to, like for the mental health version, reframe things. And because I don't know if you all remember, I said I should do something at the beginning of this episode. And as soon as I said it, I caught it. but this is not a therapy session for me, so I didn't go into it. But I said it and I knew I said it. And so like we get in these things like, oh, I should have said no to this person, or I should have done these things. I should have gotten my ass out of bed and did this workout that I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, let's not do that because that's not helpful to us. And let's do a reframe of like, I made a decision to my body. There was a reason I didn't want to get out of bed, maybe for the workout. Maybe my body was saying, you should just chill for a little bit, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Because you'll work out the next day, or you'll work out whenever you decide.
Hard on ourselves. Yeah.
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 We are.
Yeah. So rearranging, I like that visual too of even just tossing things out to donate. We're tossing out things that no longer serve us. We are keeping the things that bring us joy, and we're reorganizing. And doesn't it feel so good to like
it does.
Throw out old stuff and like donate it? And I wish we could like actually have a visual of doing that with our thoughts for like, I don't like this anymore. But our brains are way too complicated for that.
Well, you know what? You can do that visualization yourself. It could be a visualization exercise. Like there's this company here called Donate to Impact. There's like 5 different charities they pick up for one. And there's one called Operation Kindness, which is a shelter here that does a lot of medical care. And so I always pick them. It's for an animal shelter. You can go on their website and I can schedule when I want them to come pick it up. And I put my stuff on the front porch and then they come and pick it up. And so I can visualize for myself, here's the things I need to release. I'm packaging them up. I'm going to put them and visualize myself putting the box on my in front of the house. And then I visualize the truck coming, loading it up and taking it away. And then what I always do after that, because I've donated like so many boxes, is I've made space, and I know what that feeling feels like when you've decluttered. And I can be like, oh, okay, that is gone. So now I have space to reorganize here. And that kind of is exciting. Like when you've made the space on your bookshelf or your closet or your dresser drawers, it's like, do I want my sweaters in this drawer now? Because maybe it doesn't make sense. I got rid of half of them, so I can put them in the smaller area. And like, it's kind of fun, and it creates creativity for you. Or you lean into that. Yeah. So while you're reorganizing things, so then what system do you want for the emotions and all the things you're dealing with in your head?
Yeah, there could also be resistance with this of letting go feels really anxiety provoking.
Yeah.
And that could be, well, if I change, something bad might happen or I might miss something. And I would just encourage people to experiment. That's another thing that I use often in therapy is like, just be the data gatherer and just see what happens. Just see what happens and put trust in yourself and faith that you can try something new. I used to be someone that I wasn't so much like a keeping of stuff, but I did hang on to some things that maybe had sentimental value, or I don't know. I mean, I remember when I moved in with my now husband, and when we were kind of going through things, he's like, why do you need this stuff? Like it was old paper, like papers.
He's like, why do you need this stuff?
Yeah. Well, it was like...
Did you ask him why he needed his stuff?
No, because he's really good at decluttering. He's like, he's like a declutter guy as he goes. So we're constantly donating things.
Okay,
always.
Cool.
Like he's the guy that will, but he also buys a lot of stuff. So anyway, we could go into, he's a whole new episode. But like, so he is a very much like a one in, one out type of person where he's like, if I'm going to buy something new for myself, I'm going to donate a piece to something, I'm going to give it away. But I remember that I had a little bit of anxiety, and granted, this was when I was a lot younger, but I remember feeling a little bit anxious about letting go of some things. Just feeling like I didn't want to part because it had some sentimental value. But when I looked at it, I was like, these are like papers that that I wrote in college. Why am I hanging on to a huge box of papers?
Because you never know when you're going to need them.
Right, exactly. But it was funny, like, and this was also pre-social media. Pre-computers.
No,
You're
not that old.
I had a computer, but it was like, I don't know. Why didn't I just keep it digitally? You know what I mean? Like I was hanging on to, anyway. But he really taught me the value of letting go of things and how you never notice that they're gone. I never notice that, like the stuff that I have donated, I don't miss it because I don't know. Like
no.
It's just the idea is more anxiety provoking. The actual act of doing it, which is normally what happens in life anyway, is the idea is more anxiety provoking than the actual action of doing it. Because we can just stir things up in our head to make it such a big effing deal. But then once we donate it or get rid of it or declutter it, you're like, oh, I didn't miss that. I totally forgot that I had that jacket and I never wore it anyway. So why, so it's interesting how I just want to bring out that I think a lot of these acts, we can say it as if it's like an easy thing to do, or at least like the awareness piece. But I know that it's also anxiety provoking. So on that step of just recognizing that this could be it could kick up some dust, but it's a good thing because usually kicking up dust gives you an idea of where you need to work on things.
Yeah. No, I recently was working with someone too that was having this very similar experience. They had something from a past relationship. They're like, I don't know that I need this thing, but then I'm also concerned if I release it to the world that I will forget those memories. And I'm like, valid point. So there was some anxiety, some friction about letting the thing go because this fear of forgetting that like sentimental value that you're talking about. And for this person, it was just like, well, these are things that you can do. Like if you are so concerned about losing the memory, write it down. You can dictate it to your phone now, your computer, if you don't like to write by hand, or you can journal it. You can also, in your mind, you could stick it somewhere. You could go ahead and put it like in a box of donation possibly and stick it in a closet somewhere or your garage. It's like out of sight, out of mind. And if in a month you haven't really thought about that, then you can release it. It can go away. Or take a picture of it. You don't need the thing. You can just take a picture.
Yeah. So for example, here's like a light/heavy, because it's been fairly new, so it's not something I've hung on to for a very long time. But with all of JT's things, the dog that we had that I recently talked about who passed away, I collected all of his dog. We have other dogs in the house, obviously, but he used a lot of dog beds. He loved dog beds. So we had like, I don't know, at least 5 dog beds around the house that like he specifically used.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like
That's so awesome. Like he had a different dog bed in like different rooms.
Different rooms, yeah.
I love this.
And he had like specific areas that he liked to lay. Like in the morning, he would sleep by our bed. And then in the afternoon, he would go into one of the guest rooms and sleep in that dog bed. Like he played musical chairs with dog beds. And we were like, we will do whatever you want. And then I have a dog bed in my office, and he'd sometimes come. Like we always had a dog bed for him to like wherever you want to go, JT. So, but the other dogs aren't like that. Like they don't play musical chairs. They have like specific places they only lay in one spot. So we piled up all of his dog beds after he passed away, and I just like left him in a pile in our living room. It was kind of cute because a lot of the other 2 dogs started using it because they were like, this feels amazing. It was like, think about like, I referenced it like the Princess and the Pea, where it was like the mattresses were just stuck. And they just loved it. They were like, wow, this is great. And so they were laying on it. But when I was away in Arizona, I went to visit some friends this week. Scott donated the dog beds. He's like, I'm going to take these to the Buddy Center. We have a shelter here and you can donate.
Oh, nice.
Donate dog beds. And I'm really glad he did that because that is something that I probably would have hung on to. And he knows me well enough that he's like, this is not going to like destroy her, but I know that she's probably not going to have a good time watching me take the dog beds out of the house. And it was true. And actually, I'm fine with it. Like when he got back, he left a dog bed in the living room where JT usually slept, just kind of like it's there. Like there is still a dog bed there visually that I can kind of like still see. It's not like this empty space. But those are things where you're kind of like emotionally attached, but then you can move on. And I'm not saying move on like, you're ever going to get over grief, but just you will be okay with certain things of like letting go. And I understand like sentimental value with really important things, but like a pile of dog beds was not something that was going to like draw a line in the sand,
Mm-hmm. Great. Like you kept one because you realized you didn't have like a sentimental connection to every dog bed because there were like 5 of them, right? It's just really about him and his space and that he was taking up.
Exactly. And just like the fact that it's reminding me that he's not here.
Yeah.
And that, that's really what it comes down to. So then emotionally I have to deal with that. The physical representation is something totally different. So So let's close out and give people maybe a reset challenge of things that we can do for spring to, I don't know, give us a little bit of a challenge, if I can call it that.
Yeah, like maybe one thing, thinking about one thing as far as like a thought you are willing to let go. What's one thought you're willing to let go?
Well, I like this visual too, because if you can kind of like keep the parallel of like cleaning our house, you know how they're like, start with cleaning one room and clean that room really well.
Think about the rooms in your brain, because there are compartments, right? Yep. Because we compartmentalize all kinds of things. Sure do. Not to overwhelm people, but you could just kind of think about, like, what are the parts of my brain that maybe where I could try to let something go? And, I'm just thinking, like, maybe I have a work brain, maybe I have a home brain, I have a fun brain. I have different areas of my brain. Yes, I am still one person, but what's an area that I just pick one? Yeah. So it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah. Is there something that comes to mind for you?
I don't necessarily have like a one thought, but what I have been doing is thinking about protecting my time. I have not done a good job at this probably the last 6 months of my life. And I've got to this super stressed out point where I'm just so stressed and anxious all the time. And it's just, I'm over it. That what I am doing is not taking on new things. New things have been presented to me that are really interesting. And I've teetered back and forth on which yes or no lily pad, and I can't make a decision. So I've just decided it has to be no for now. No for now. It doesn't mean no forever. But so that's what I'm doing, is I'm just not saying yes as much as I was, because I want to be involved. I want to do the things, and that's not serving me well right now.
Yeah. For right now, and also recognizing a season of life that you're in, and it doesn't have to be forever. That's a good one.
And I think, as far as a thought, we've been in this search for Oliver a companion. Oliver's been speed dating, a friend calls it. We've been trying to find the perfect companion for him, because there was a pack of 3 and now he's 1. So he's been lonely. Yeah. And I've just been worried about finding the right companion for him. And it's stressing me out so much that I've just decided that I have to let that idea of perfection go. Yeah. And that just going to make a decision.
Good. Make a decision and make it right, because it will give you more information as you move forward.
You're so right.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think about my life in terms of, I tend to make things harder than they need to be. And by that, I mean, if something either comes up at work or like an upcoming trip I have, I tend to get myself in this like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much work. Or, oh my gosh, I do that projection thing, that kind of a little bit of like a projection and anxiety. It's always what I was referencing earlier, where the anticipation and the idea of it is way worse than the actual thing. So I want to be mindful of when I do that, to just at least go, oh, that's that thing you do, and just, again, name it. So that's something that I want to be more, because I've done that for so long. I don't want to say it's a bad habit, but it's just a pattern of thinking that I recognize that I do, where I'm like, oh, don't go to this place where, I don't know, whether it's a project at work or someone asks you to do something, I'm always like, oh, this is going to take forever. And it like really doesn't. And so I just make it in my head that it's going to be so much harder than, or I don't know how to do this. And I'm not going to, I don't know even, how do I figure out how to do this? It's like a really interesting thing that I do to myself. And I would really like to just be mindful of when I do that, to not go down that path, at least to like, I'm not saying I'm going to eliminate the thought entirely, because I don't think my brain can do that. But I would at least like to just not let my brain go down that path of anxiety of making things way more complicated.
I wonder if the underlying part of that is some self-doubt.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely self-doubt. And then also, like in terms of trips, or if I have too many plans on the books, I'm always like, when am I going to get my introvert time?
Oh, yeah. So you're trying to protect your time then.
But in reality, I always have enough time for myself. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just, again, it's like the idea of it is just over exaggerated. The awfulizing of it all.
Yeah. Well, it's anxiety provoking, because like you need these certain things in your life
to keep your homeostasis.
I'm not going to be my best self and having a good time, because you want to have a good time, especially on a trip, if you can't get your introvert time.
Right. So we'll try
like you said, we're just all trying to survive, and that's something your body needs to survive.
Yes.
To be your best functioning self.
Well, listeners, we have
yes.
so enjoyed going on this spring cleaning journey. We hope that you clean pockets of your house and then pockets of your mind, and maybe a little bit of both at the same time.
Yes, because they both are very helpful and very much connected.
You need both. You need your space. You know, some people are like, there is something to that. When their house is clean, they feel settled. I think there's something to that.
Oh, yeah. Completely.
So
completely.
Let's focus on taking care of ourselves and our brains at the same time. We've so enjoyed your company with us, even though we can't see you. We know that you're there, and we hope that this was helpful for you. If you ever want to reach out and ask us a question, you can find us at our email address, which is laughcryclub@gmail.com, and we are on social media at Laugh Cry Club. We love you so much. We're here with you on this journey, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.